once again and welcome to my channel. I hope you're enjoying the videos that we are sharing together. We have been looking at the system's life cycle and how we can implement a new system and how we can design a new system and put it into place. Now we have looked at how you can go from the design phase, you make research and decide to put up a new system. Now after designing, the next stage is to implement the system. As you can see, there are some steps that we have to follow to implement the new system. The first step is you have to train the new staff on the new system. You must give them the skills that are required. You must show them how it is done. You must show them how it is used. Two, you are required to transfer the paper files or electronic files to a new system. How to transfer the files? We can scan the files or the documents into the new system. We can type them in using a keyboard into the system, and we can download the files to the new database. In case these were already in the database. Then three, we have changeover to the new system. And once we're doing the changeover, the various stages that we can go through or the various methods that we can use to change over. One, we can use the changeover where a system will just go from one system to another without going through any other phases. Two, we have the parallel running where the old system and the new system are running together at the same time. Then three, we have the pilot implementation where the system is introduced. Maybe if you have 10 branches, you introduce one branch and see how it works. More or less like a bio study. Then you have the phased implementation where you keep applying to one part of you apply one part of the system and then you keep on introducing other parts of the system until the system is entirely implemented.
So what are the methods of changeover? When the first method we have is direct. Direct changeover basically means that the old system is directly replaced with a new system. You don't have to give it time to say, let me do it in phases. No, you just decide, I have this system, it's old, and I've bought a new system, and I just replace it. Take an example that I have an old phone. If I have an old phone and I buy a new phone, I just throw away the old phone. Nothing changes. I just bring a new phone to replace the old phone. That's what we mean by direct changeover. It has its own advantages and its own disadvantages. First of all, it can be disastrous if the new system fails since the old system is no longer available. You've just gotten a new phone and you've thrown away the old one. Imagine the new one doesn't work. Of course, what will happen is that it will be very disastrous and you won't have a backup. So that's what we mean by disastrous. Two, the benefits are immediate. And of course, supposed are reduced since there's only one system used. There's no need to pay two sets of staff that can use the old system and staff that can use the new system. Then the other implementation method of changeover is a parallel changeover. How does it work? With this method, you have the old system and the new system working hand in hand as you try to phase out the old system. Take an example. You have bought a new phone, and after you buying a new phone, instead of throwing it away, you've tried to use it hand in hand with a new phone. That means that the old phone will be working, whereas the new phone will also be working. That means it will give you ample time to prepare and understand the new system, the new phone. So that's why one of the advantages of using parallel is that with parallel, it gives you ample time to prepare for the new system, and in case the new system fails to function, you can still retract back to the old system. Furthermore, it can give you ample time to train your staff to try and learn how to use the new system that is being implemented. Three, we have the pilot method of changeover. Now, with this method, with pilot, assuming your company has 6 branches, so you get the new system, use it in one branch or office of the company, and at that branch where you have implemented the new system, you try to gauge how well the system is working, how best it is working, what needs to be improved, and all changes are made before it is implemented in other sectors or other offices or other branches of the organization. Advantages and disadvantages. You can see that in case the system fails, only one part is affected since you've implemented it in only one branch or Office. Then we have the phased implementation method. Under phased implementation method, you get one part of the system and introduce it into the organization, into the company. For example, if you get the database alone, if you have a system that has database, it has input, you basically pick out one aspect of the system, or like what we had earlier discussed, our system is divided into various small parts. So you get that one small part, implement it, and if it works properly, you bring in the other small part and implement it, and you keep on adding part by part until the entire system is fully implemented. The old system is done with and the new system is introduced into the organization. Of course, it also has its advantages and disadvantages. Now, when we're changing over, there are very many impacts that we tend to find. For example, as you're changing over using parallel, the relative costs of each method of using parallel are high. Why? Because you're trying to run two systems at the same time. Input needed by the user, of course, it is also high. The input needed by the system is low. The impact of failure of method is also low, since the two systems are running both running at the same time. So basically, we're looking at the impact one. We're looking at the changeover method, the type of method. We have parallel, pilot, phased, and direct. Relative cost of each method at the start. How expensive is it to implement the method? How cheap is it to implement the method? Input needed by the user. Of course, when you're implementing the system, it requires the user needs to have some aspect of the system, has to input something to the system. How they find it, how does it react, how do they react with it, how do they enter data. Then input needed by the systems team, the people who design the system. That's what we mean by the input needed by the systems team. Then the impact of failure method. In case after implementing it, it has failed, what will be the impact? What will be the impact in case it fails to work? You've implemented a new system and it has failed to work. What will be the impact to the company? Then after implementation, of course, what we do next is we have like documentation. Now, once the system is implemented, there are various documents that need to be issued with the system. The two documents that are issued, one document is for the end user, the person going to use the system, and two, it's for the developers, the people who might want to change the system as you go on, in case they find an error or in case they want to upgrade or downgrade. So we have two documents. We have the user documentation, and then we have the technical documentation. So in the user documentation is where it's basically designed to help users to learn how to use a software or system. It can consist of any of these things that I have shared with you, that I've listed: how to install, run the software, how to save files, how to do a search, how to sort data, how to print out, how to add, delete, or amend records, the purpose of the system, limitations of the system, and many, many more. Now, for the technical documentation, the technical documentation is basically designed to help programmers or analysts to make improvements to the system or to repair or maintain the system. It can contain any of the things that I've listed: the program code, the programming language, the program flowcharts and algorithms, the system flowcharts and file structures. And as you can see on my screen, those are some of the aspects that you can find in the technical documentation. Basically, it's like a report after whatever has been done. Then once you've prepared the documentation, we need to evaluate the system. Once the system is up and running, you have to evaluate. You have to find out if it is working properly. You have to do some maintenance in case it is needed. Some of the things that are done under evaluation are: you compare the final solution with the original task, you identify any limitations of the system, you identify any necessary improvements that need to be made, you have to check the user's responses, you have time to test the time taken to complete the different tasks. Of course, after evaluation, there are some steps that need to be taken, which are obviously two steps. You can either update the software or update the hardware. What will lead to the update of hardware? Once you decide to have some of the things that you can find that can lead to can force you to update the hardware are, in case you get feedback from end users and they tell you that the hardware that you're using is a bit complex for us or we can't access it. 2, in case you realize that there is new hardware that has come out onto the market and has forced you to make the change. 3, in case there are changes in the company that require new devices to be added or updated. And what can cause you to update the software after evaluation? 1, feedback from end users, changes to the company structure or other company works that may require modification in the software, and changes in legislation that may require modification in the software. So basically, that's the system's life cycle in my theory videos. I hope you enjoy. Please don't forget to subscribe. Feel free to add any comments, anything, any suggestions that you could be having. They're highly welcome. Thank you again.